If you go to the module, you'll see that it walks you through our introduction. We're going to read a play called Oedipus Rex, which is an ancient Greek play written around 400 BC. Luckily, you do not have to read it in Greek. You can read it in English, but we're going to work through that one. I'll talk a little bit about our plan for that in a minute. Here are your objectives, the skills that we'll be working on, and let me do the updates here. Remember that this is a B week, so that means that you've got formatives today, Thursday, and also on Friday. Also on Friday you'll get a notification of the advisory lesson. It's good to do those. They're creating those based on the survey that they did at the beginning of the year, helping students with whatever needs that they set up on those surveys. So, do have a look at that when I send that out to you. I think this week is from one of the counselors. This is the last week of the second 6 weeks, so that means that grades are winding down in your classes. Make sure that you touch base with your instructors if you have any issues. I will probably have the grades done on Friday. I'm not the type of person that waits to turn them in until the last minute. I'm sure you've been looking in the grade book. You can see I pretty much keep up with things. So I will put in the grade for the poetry project video and also your commentary on a classmate's video. And then I think I'll just give you the average on Friday of your formatives for this marking period, and that will all go in before, and then I'll post the grades. So if you have any issues, it's better to talk to me before then. This week, the hybrid schedule started. I sent it out a couple different ways. Do you have any questions? I'm assuming that they went over this with you yesterday about how that's working. If there's questions, go ahead and put them in the chat. I'll do like a general overview, and then if you have questions, I'll get to those, but you can put them in there while I'm talking. So or you can unmute. Did somebody have a question right off?
So we are meeting every day now?
Well, technically, yes. We're not going to do that in this class because they give me some leeway for the STC class. I think things are going okay with a once-a-day meeting, and I've already talked to them about how I plan to do it. We will have some optional, starting next week, I'm going to set up some watch parties because the play that we're going to be reading, we're going to watch it be performed, but that's going to be optional. So yes, they're expecting for you to be in class Monday through Thursday. The first part of each class is supposed to be synchronous from 8 until 8:45 or 9:30 to 10:15. And then the second half of class is supposed to be asynchronous, so that you've got like 45 minutes online, 45 minutes offline. Next class, 45 minutes online, 45 minutes off class. And that goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Now, some instructors, depending on how they've structured their classes, might have permission to not do it that way, but that's how it's supposed to go because the students who are on hybrid, they come on Monday, Tuesday is group 1. So that's alpha last name A through M. And then other students come on Tuesday, Thursday, and they want for there to be a class session going on for those students to participate in. So I feel like things are going fine the way that they are. The course is structured in such a way that we don't even really need Zoom meetings. I do think they help. So I think I'm going to continue having one. If you would like to make a point about how we should have class on Thursdays, I'm glad to do that. I mean, I don't want you to feel like your education's being cheated or I'm not, giving you everything I could for the course. But I don't think it's necessary for this class. Other classes might be necessary. So we'll just continue meeting on Tuesdays for the official class period. The schedule is only till the 13th of November. It's going to change again on the 16th. So on the 16th, they're going to change the schedule to more like what we had for a daily schedule before COVID back in the spring. So like they're going to get rid of that 2:45 to 4 o'clock, and the class periods will be from 8 until 4 on more of a regular schedule, starting on the 16th. So this is like a transition schedule, and then they'll be moving to the actual schedule on the 16th because they're phasing in all of the people who want to do hybrid. Other questions? Anybody?
No questions.
No questions, okay. So yeah, I think that you might want to just double check with your different instructors about whether they're actually having those meetings, but we are supposed to have them. I had to get special permission, or actually I just told them it's an STC class, so I'm doing it the way I want. So that's how that's gonna work. All right, if there are any other questions, you can put it in the chat. So I put on here our next class meeting. That way, even the people who aren't in our Zoom session today will know that we, just use that time to study and work on your material and so on. So whatever we would be doing on Thursday, you can use it to your best advantage. The videos were turned in last Saturday, so hopefully you turned yours in. Those were posted in the discussion board up here. And there is one remaining task with that because there's 2 grades for that project. One is your video explication, but then the other one is for you to go in and comment on 2 of your classmates' videos. And your commentary, let me go back a little bit. Your commentary, where it says part 2 here, is to answer the study questions that they made and also to respond to their video, constructive criticism, or tell them something that you really liked about their video. We're not trying to be overly critical. This isn't a video class, but let's go easy on everybody. But I do want you to comment a little bit on what you liked about their video after you answer the study question. So the way that you do that, I put a video on here, right here, in case you forget later on or need to direct a classmate. If you go back into the forum where everybody posted all of their videos, you can just, select one. You might want to watch a couple of them before you decide which ones you want to respond to. And then you can click on the link, watch the video, and then you would hit reply right here. And it will create a area where you can go ahead and put, like number 1, study question 1, put your response. It should be, a paragraph, a medium-sized paragraph or so, if they made a good study question and it's not just like a yes or no or something like that. And then study question 2, and then whatever other commentary you have. Then you just hit submit. So the grade for that, I'll just be going through and reading your comments and how you answered the questions from your classmates' videos. But that's how you do it. I know you might already know, but not everybody does, so I'm going over it. I made a video too. So I go around assuming that people know how to do everything that I know how to do, but that's not a good assumption in life. You have to, especially as a teacher, you have to make sure everybody knows what to do. Where was I? Modules. I was really happy with the videos. I looked at maybe 80% of them this weekend, and so I'm going to be grading them, obviously, for the second 6 weeks. So in the next couple of days, I'll be giving you some feedback. But I was really happy with them. People had some good insights and chose some really interesting poems. I will tell you that some of the poems that people chose, because it was a social issue topic, some of them are a little edgy, or, there might be some issues with, depending on your experiences and so on. There were some people who sent me emails and they're like, do you think this poem is too much, or do you think that it's okay? And I just told those people if the poems were okay, that they should maybe put a trigger warning. So if there's like a really graphic element, or if there's an element of child abuse or rape or something like that that might trigger somebody, then I just asked them to put a trigger warning at the beginning of their video. But not everybody shared their choices with me ahead of time. So just be aware. I know that I chose a social issue, and that's what's going to happen with some social issues. So not all of them are like that, but there might be a few. So as you're responding, you can work on those. Those are due tomorrow. So you just have to watch the videos and make the comments. I want to talk a little bit about open form today because we're wrapping up poetry. And we were last week talking about closed form, where we have sonnets and structure and rules about poems and, how they need to rhyme a certain way, have a certain number of syllables per line, etc., and all those rules that we put onto poems like sestinas and sonnets. But that doesn't mean that open form poetry, which does not conform to a specific style, doesn't have structure or doesn't have some of those same elements. They can still have some rhyming elements. It's just that they're not confined to the rules of what is a sonnet or what is a sestina or a haiku or any of those other types of poems. So an open form poem can create their own structure. I want to talk about the two that you read for today, two open form poems. The Fish, which is, classic poem and one of my favorites. This one is basically about catching a fish, and you wouldn't think that you'd get that many lines about catching a fish unless you have been fishing and you know that there's more to it than just sitting there. And this poem is structured in a way that kind of tells a story because it's narrative. It's got a narrative structure to it, but it also has some structure in the sense that it has some long sentences interspersed with some short ones. For example, the first part here, let me highlight it. I caught a tremendous fish and held him beside the boat, half out of water with my hook fast in a corner of his mouth, is a complex sentence, and that's a longer sentence. There are some longer ones in the right-hand column over here, but then you get this little short sentence like he didn't fight, he hadn't fought at all. But then you get another long one. He hung in grunting wait. Let me see. This one goes all the way down to here. So what Elizabeth Bishop is doing is she's creating a subtle structure of anticipation, because the whole time we know she has the fish, but what's she going to do with it? She's describing its barnacles and how it's got the leaders and the hook still in its mouth from 5 other victories where it got away from the fisher person, fisher, I'm guessing. And so she's describing all these little elements of it, almost that it's beautiful. Even though she's talking about white sea lice, there's still, like part of the beauty of the texture of the fish is, scales and outside of its body and so on. So then the lines get much longer, or the sentences get longer. Over here on the right-hand side, we have this giant sentence. On line 45, I admired his sullen face, the mechanism of his jaw. There's a long sentence right there. And all of that is build up. And at the end, we get this repetition, this beautiful, I think it starts right here. I stared and stared, and victory filled up the little rented boat from the pool of bilge where oil had spread a rainbow around the rusted. Okay, the power just went out. Are y'all there?
Yes.
Okay, did you see that?
Yeah, miss, my power went out also.
Oh, really? Are you near the school?
Yeah, I'm like 2 minutes down the road.
Oh, probably a truck hit a pole or something. Great. Well, at least we're still here. The Wi-Fi's still on. Okay. So then the victory still filled up the little rented boat from the pool of bilge where the oil had spread a rainbow around the rusted engine. This is all really long. Right here. To the baler rusted orange, the sun-cracked thwarts, the oarlocks on their strings, the gunnels, until everything was rainbow, rainbow, rainbow. It gets a little like overwhelming and saturation of color. And ultimately, the end of the poem is that she lets the fish go. Why does she let the fish go? What are your thoughts on that? Anybody? You can put it in the chat. Ideas? Respect for it. Yeah, I'll buy that. Like all those different times that he got away, except this time it doesn't fight, right? Like that's almost the first thing that it says. Yeah, an internal struggle, right? He did line 5, he didn't fight, he hadn't fought at all. Obviously, he fought in the past because of those broken lines that are, like a beard on his, I don't know, do fish have chins? His lower jaw. Yeah, she felt bad for taking it away from its home. Also, it's not much of a challenge if the fish just sort of like goes, well, okay, right? It's not much of a challenge that way. So maybe it's out of respect for the fish and its age and wisdom. Yeah, I like all those ideas. It's a little surprising, but that she lets it go, but I don't know. It seems like a pretty old fish. I don't know if it would taste good anyway. Good. Any other comments about this poem that you would like to point out? Any other ideas that you thought of that you can share? No? All right. Well, the other poem is totally different topic. This is about a visit to the National Vietnam Veterans Memorial, and the speaker was a soldier in the war, and he goes to visit this memorial, which is a real place. And probably in your step 1, you probably needed to look this up unless you happen to have visited that location in Washington, D.C. I've been there a couple of times. The memorial for the veterans of the Vietnam War is a chevron. It's like a V-shaped um, memorial, and it's built into a hill, and it's got all the names of all of the soldiers that gave their lives in that war. And so people go to find the names of their loved ones, and there's like, you can do rubbings to get the name, and people leave things there by the names of the people, their loved ones. But the poem is about sort of like the melding of reality and memory. And as he's standing there, he's seeing the scene, but it's getting mixed up with what he sees in the memorial, because the memorial is highly polished. It's almost like a mirror, like a black mirror. And so he's using that element of the memorial to describe how his experience being there at that memorial is affecting him. And there's this sort of element where he thinks he sees this in the wall, but no, it was just a reflection and it meant something else. So there's sort of a overlap between what is real and what is not real and just seen in the reflection, which isn't a perfect thing because it's got names on it. But if you didn't look up Vietnam Veterans Memorial, I think you would be limited in your understanding of this poem, because to understand that it is like a mirror, that it is got, it has all the names on it, what it looks like would help you understand the poem, I think. He talks about how, here's how we know that he's a soldier. He was a soldier also in the war. He says, I go down the 58,022 names, half expecting to find my own in letters like smoke. I touch the name Andrew Johnson. I see the booby trap's white flash. So that suggests to us that he was a soldier in the war and had an experience. They're not talking about Andrew Johnson, the president, right? They're talking about, a fellow soldier that he was with in Vietnam. So then there's a difference between what he sees in the wall and what he sees in reality. And this is in open form. There's not a rhyme scheme. There's no regular pattern to the number of syllables. I would say if I had to talk about structure in this poem, I would probably say that it is episodic, meaning that it kind of takes us through the experience and talks about the different elements of the experience as it goes through the time that the speaker was there at the wall. Anybody want to comment on this poem? Yusuf Komunyakaa is an important American poet. He's still alive. He still writes and does readings. Any insights? Anybody want to share their poetic idea? I don't see any chats. Is it going to be Sean saying no? No questions. His loss of identity. Yeah, yeah. I think that's where it's going with the reflection, because our reflection in a mirror is a true reflection, but our reflection in a piece of black granite is not going to be a true reflection. It's going to be distorted. And you know, the soldiers from Vietnam struggled with their return home for the most part because of, you know, that time period, and the US involvement in the war was not a popular thing, and so many of them were mistreated, or you know, they weren't even, there's a draft, so some of them didn't even choose a military route for their lives, and were, you know, just destroyed by what they saw in the war, and people didn't understand that when they returned. So yeah, the Vietnam veterans, I think they finally built that memorial in the 1980s. It took a while for them to do that, but a lot of the soldiers were mistreated because people didn't like the politics of the war. I think we learned a lesson from that, right? Nowadays we think about the military as more sacrificial and with more respect, regardless of politics. They're still doing their, you know, their duty for our country. But I think that's a good point. All right, well, hopefully you can tell the difference between closed form and open form. It's not that hard to figure out, but those are the two basic, I think of it as a safety net for someone who messes up in high school. They do give you college. Yeah, there is a GI Bill. People get paid from the military, but there are people who use that to pay for their college. So yeah, it's valid. You also have to, I mean, there's things you have to give up to be in the military too. Like you don't get to choose your destinations. They choose wherever they need you is where they put you for however long the time that you have in the military. All right, I want to jump down to the assignments here and talk about what's coming up this week. I'll go back and do a short PowerPoint here on Greek drama terminology, and then we'll be finished for today. So I already talked about the explication evaluation. That one's due tomorrow. For next Tuesday, which is our next class period, I just want you to do some background work so that you're prepared to start reading Oedipus Rex next week. It's about 40 pages in the text, which is short. Usually Shakespearean dramas are 2 or 3 times that length. So I want to try to finish it in the next 2 weeks leading into Thanksgiving. Here's what I'd like to do. See if you think this is a good idea, and you can tell me in the chat as I'm talking about it if you have feedback. Or unmute yourself and actually speak with me, that'd be good too. So if we finish the play, and the original syllabus, we finish the play the week before exams. There is a research paper that goes with this play. We still have to do a research paper before the end of the term. So if we spread this out and do half of the play before Thanksgiving and the other half when we get back, then that means that the week of the 9th is the week before exams, and I have a feeling that you're going to get a lot of projects, a lot of papers, a lot of exams jamming you up during that time. I would like to try to alleviate that. So I would like to support you as you read Oedipus and we finish it before Thanksgiving. We take a break over Thanksgiving. I'm not going to make an assignment for you over Thanksgiving or anything like that. We have that week off. And then when we get back, we'll be already finished with the play, and we can spend those 2 weeks before exam week working on the paper and nothing else, because everything will, all the material will already be taken care of. And then that way, the only things we have to worry about when we get back are the research paper, which I'm going to walk you through, but it's on the play. So you kind of have to finish reading the play before you can do the research paper, and getting ready for the exam. And that's all we'll need to do. We won't have daily assignments or here read some more Oedipus because it will already be finished. So it'll be a little bit more reading than you're used to in the next 2 days, but we're also going to have the watch parties on Thursdays. So watching the play of what you're reading will help you to understand it. And I'll have some study guides for you too that might be helpful to you. But that's what I'm thinking I would like to do. I took out the comedy that we usually read first to make an extra week so that we can finish the play before Thanksgiving. And I think that's our best bet. I will give you the research paper topic maybe next week just so that you're aware of it. And then that way, you know, I mean, I'm not going to make you do it over Thanksgiving. I'll make the deadline, you know, into December. But what do y'all think about that process? Anybody? Okay, there's some chats. Okay, sounds like a good idea. I don't know. I've been hearing some stories from, yeah, I hear a lot of the students that are in my independent studies class are students that were in this class last year or in my AP class last year. And they've been a lot more, like, obviously they know me better. So they've been giving me a lot of feedback. And I just have the feeling that some teachers just sort of like give you an assignment and it's due next week or it's due the end of this week. And it might be a hefty assignment. And I'm just afraid that in December, you're going to get projects that you have to complete, or, you know, like all of a sudden write this paper. I'm not trying to disparage my colleagues. I'm just saying I'd rather guard against that, and I don't want to contribute to that. So I think this is doable. I'm getting that's good. If you have a different issue, then we can talk about a due date that would be better for you. But that's what I'd like to do. So it's going to be a little tougher these next couple of weeks. I'm here to support you with that. But then after Thanksgiving, we'll have more time to breathe and work on what we need to. I'm going to go with that since nobody said anything bad in the comments about it. Okay. All right, so then there's some things to do this week. I did not assign any of the actual play. It's all preliminary stuff because Greek drama is different than contemporary plays or even Shakespeare, even from the Renaissance. This play that we're reading was written in about 500 BC or BCE, depending on which acronym set you use. And so things were very different in those times, and there are different ways that the play is organized. I want to do background first. So for homework, there are some pages in your book that I want you to read on tragedy and comedy and defining drama. Then there's a diagram for you to look at so that you're aware of stage directions and how that works. Just take notes on these things in your notebook. And then there's a short video. I think the video is about 7 minutes. This one, I try not to pick long videos because I would just hate it if I thought I finished all my assignment and I have to go watch this video and it's like an hour 20 or something. You can speed it up, but still. The other stuff we can learn as we go. But this is sort of the basics of Greek drama and how ancient Greek drama was, came to be. Greek drama is the oldest drama that we have in all of literature. I'm not going to make you read it in Greek, don't worry. It's English class. And then in your book, leading up to the play, so in your book on 1430 and 1431, there's like some background about the author Sophocles, and then a little bit of cultural context about how their plays were it was like a contest that they set up and stuff. But the video talks about that. And then there's the characters down here. Make sure you read through them, maybe take some notes in your notebook. There's a decent amount of characters for a 40-page play, but they all have Greek names. So you're going to want to jot them down so that you can refer to them. And then at the top of the page, the play starts down here under this picture. And on the top part up here is the setting and the stage and all of that sort of thing. So that's the part to prepare. And then after that starts the play. And I'm going to assign the first chunk of that next week. Now, if you don't have a busy week and you want to get started reading, I'm not going to stop you. We are going to read the whole play, beginning, in order. So if you are ahead and you want to start reading the play, go right ahead. That will make less reading for you next week. Probably I'm going to assign about 20 pages next week. It'll be that and the formatives pretty much is it. So that's the background stuff. I do want to go over some Greek drama terminology before we sign off today. It's a short PowerPoint, but there's some terms that you're going to run into that I want to make sure that you understand. So I'm going to go to that real quick. Maybe jot down a few notes. You do have access to this, so you can get the notes later, but I want to talk about the terminology that is common to ancient Greek. Have any of you read Oedipus before? If you have, put it in the chat. A couple years ago, somebody teaching 1301, I think at the college, like somebody who was doing 1301, I don't know why you would read it in 1301, but I had a couple students who came in and like, oh yeah, we read that in the summer when we did, or 1302. But anyway, so all right, the first term to know is chorus. Chorus is a part of ancient Greek drama that we do not see in our drama today. Our drama today does not include a chorus where people are singing interspersed. We have musicals, but that's not the same thing. That's when the characters are singing their emotions. That's not what we're talking about in Greek drama. Greek drama, the chorus is a group of characters who sort of function as a unit, and they react to what they see on the stage. Greek drama does not have action. They talk about action, but there's not going to be a sword fight. That's not what they do. They talk about things that have happened in the past and they have realizations, but there's not, murders that are happening on stage. Somebody's going to go and investigate something and come back and say somebody was murdered, because that's just, the basic level of drama at the time. So the chorus will react to things, and they'll interact with the characters sometimes. And so they sort of represent the reactions that we have as we're learning and going through the plot and so on. So the chorus has a few roles. They ask questions. So sometimes they'll say, why does Oedipus feel blah, blah, blah? And that's to get you thinking like you're in the play and involved in the action. They do sometimes interact with the actors. Usually on stage in a Greek drama, there's only 3 main actors at a time, because it's the beginning, it's the origin of drama. So they didn't conceive of more than 3 people acting on the stage at a time. They will summarize what just happened, because what happens is the chorus will come in after a scene. So the scene will come in, it's, there'll be like characters interacting, and then the chorus will come in and they'll be discussing what they just saw. And then there'll be another episode where there's dialogue between the characters, and then the chorus comes in. So after every, I guess in modern drama we would call it, after every scene, the chorus comes in and they react to it. So they are always coming in there and giving us their feedback after whatever just happened. And we don't have that in modern drama. They do wear masks. I want to show you some pictures of that. In Greek drama, one of the classic hallmarks of that is wearing masks. They didn't, how do I put this? They didn't have the idea that a person with their real face could be on stage being another character. When we go to the movies or we watch a TV show, we know that that's an actor and they're taking on a role. We don't expect that that's their real life. But in ancient times, they didn't have that separation. So the actors, if they were just there with their own faces, it would have been confusing for the audience, because they'd be like, well, hey, that's Jack, or like whatever Greek name. That's Jack. What, they wouldn't get that he's being Oedipus. So they wear masks, and the masks are very exaggerated into, like exaggerated facial features. And so I'm going to give you the option of watching one or the other of two different productions. And one is sort of the classic way with the masks. And the other way is a different production that does not use the masks. So for some people, the masks are a little bit creepy. You know, I can see that. I think they're meant to be creepy because their expressions don't change. If you're wearing a mask that looks like that, then you just always look like that. At least now actors can change their expressions and open and close their eyes and so on. But in ancient times, they didn't. I kind of like watching it with masks. I think that it's like a nod to the old traditions, but I can see where some people might think that's weird. But I have two productions, and you get to choose which one you want to watch, and that will be your decision. We'll have to have a vote on the watch parties. So these masks are the origin of this symbol. There's even an emoji that has the comedy tragedy masks. And that comes from the fact that the actors in ancient Greek theater would wear masks to demonstrate when they're in character. So when I'm wearing this thing, I'm Oedipus. When I'm not wearing this, I'm myself. I think I talked about all that stuff already. Okay, here's another term that you need to know because this character will show up fairly soon into our reading, and that's choragus. The choragus is a single character who is the leader of the chorus. So that person sometimes separates out from the chorus and speaks to the characters and interacts with them and asks them questions. And they sort of represent the whole chorus though. So instead of the whole chorus going to ask Oedipus a question, that one choragus might come and speak to the characters or speak to the audience or whatever. And that's the main person who responds to the action and questions the other chorus members and gets them going in a direction of sort of analyzing what just occurred. There's a handful of structure terms. Ancient Greek dramas are not structured like the plays that we see with Shakespeare and other and modern playwrights. We usually have acts, maybe 5 of them, and then within the acts we have scenes that are smaller sections. Ancient Greek dramas are not structured that way. So I want to go through the structure for you, and then I also have a tool to help you as you read. So the first one is prologue. That's probably not a new term for you, but that is the section that happens very first in a Greek drama, and it has all the exposition. So we find out the basic situation and all the characters, the basic conflict that's setting up. We understand all of that from the very first part of the play, the prologue. Then there will be a parados. A parados, you can remember that because it's the root of the word parade, right? So then will come in all of the chorus members. They usually sort of, walk in slowly. They come in usually chanting or singing, and they arrive and assemble at the beginning of the play right after the prologue. And so they come in, other characters might come in too, but you can remember parados as the parade as they are entering in order to perform. They're usually singing about the ideas that are in the play. All right, the episode is going to be the equivalent of a scene in a regular drama. An episode is when the characters are interacting with one another and having a dialogue. So there's going to be episode 1, episode 2. I think there are 4 of them in this play, 4 episodes. Between each episode is a stasimon. A stasimon or stasimon is when the chorus comes in after an episode to discuss what just happened. Now, a lot of the people that would have been watching this in ancient times would have been illiterate. So they have the chorus to come in and kind of recap what just happened, like in case you didn't get it, here's what happened, and also to do some foreshadowing because they might say, well, what is Oedipus going to do now? And then everybody has to think, well, what can he do? So there's a little bit of foreshadowing element also to what happens in the stasimons. But the stasimon is a way for the chorus to respond to what they just saw in the episode. Hopefully that makes sense. The final scene or the final episode is the Exodus, and you can see the word exit or exodus in that word, so it's not hard to remember. That's the final scene of the play, the resolution, how things finally turn out. So they don't call that an episode, they just call it the Exodus. This is a still picture from one of the versions that you'll have the option to watch. This is the mask version. They're both stage versions. They're both filmed, not like a movie, but like a camera that's watching a stage production. And it's just a matter of one's a little more modern. This is the older one, but they use the masks. So I wanted to give you the option to choose either one, but they're both good. I did make a document that might help you as we start reading next week when I make the first reading assignment. You can make a copy of it if you want and use it, or this is not an assignment. I'm not going to assign this, but it might help you. What I did was I took the different sections of the play and I'm listed them in order here with the page numbers from the text. So we're going to read about half of it next week, and then the other half of it the week before Thanksgiving. So I left a space here for you to put in key characters and what happens in that section. And if you want to, you can keep track of those things or take note of whatever you want, just so that you can keep the different parts separate, you know, in your mind, what's happening in each section, because there's a lot of shifting that happens. And I put some little reminders over here, what the prologue does, what the parados is, what the episode is, and so on. So you can use this with the page numbers here if it helps you. If it helps you organize what's happening in the play. But that's like a tool. I'm gonna give you a couple of different study tools to help you, just because we're going through the play rather quickly in the next 3 weeks, including this week. So that way you've got a little bit of support and some help as you're working through it. Besides me, you also have tools for yourself. All right, that's it for this slideshow. Are there any questions on the terminology or the assignment or anything like that? Sean?
No questions.
How did I know you were going to say that? All right, if there aren't any questions, then I will see you on Tuesday next week. If you need to contact me, if you want to do a Zoom call, if you're confused about something, please just communicate with me. I'm really good about getting back to people on email. I mean, unless you email me at 1 in the morning, I'm asleep. But if you email me, I'm going to get back to you. I also have the Google Voice. You can use that and text me, whatever works out, and I'll get right back to you. So I don't want you to feel like if we're not meeting on Thursdays, you're not being attended to, because I'm here for you. All right? If there are any more questions, then I will send you on your way. I hope you all have a good week. Bye.
Miss, do we have a formative today?
Do you have a what?
Formative.
Yeah, there's a formative.
Okay, thank you, Miss. Have a good day.
What's that? I didn't hear that.
Bye, Miss. Have a good day.
Bye. You too.